Welcome to the Gita in Action podcast. This is Radha and Friends. We bring you the Gita in Action podcast where we read through the Bhagavad Gita, this ancient wisdom text. We read through it verse by verse and we really soak up its meaning and discuss its relevance to our lives so that it becomes alive. When we do this in the association of like-minded seekers, these texts really come alive and they transform our lives. And that's what we've all experienced here with this text. And that's why we keep coming back again and again, week after week. We do this on Mondays and Thursdays together. And it's the highlight of my week. And I think many of our seekers too, our family, our Gita family. So thank you all. Thank you for joining us. And today we are starting with text 1015. Text 1015. And we're in this little short section of the 10th chapter where Krishna kind of dropped a wisdom bomb on us. You know, these four summary verses of the Bhagavad Gita. They really give the essence of the Gita, who God is and how to reciprocate with God in a way that he just takes care of us. Right? And now Arjuna is kind of reflecting back to Krishna some of his realizations after hearing this. And so it's a short section. There's only a few verses in this chapter where Arjuna's doing this, but this is kind of the conversation that's taking place between two friends on the battlefield. And Arjuna kind of represents us. You know, he's talking to Krishna, he's getting all these realizations from Krishna, but he's at this he's in the middle of a battlefield, like about to fight his family, his friends, because it's his dharmic responsibility. And Krishna is just giving him this transcendental nectar that to really take him out of this material world, this material circumstances, material roles, and really to this transcendental plane. And all the while we're reading this, we're studying this, we're getting taken for the journey. We're getting taken along for the journey with Arjuna. So Arjuna is really a character that we can relate to and that we should relate to because Krishna's really speaking this knowledge for all of our benefits. And that's what we're discovering as we kind of peel through the layers of this knowledge and read through the Gita. So we're starting with chapter 10, verse 15. But before we do that, Shakti, do you want to say our prayers for us this morning?
I'd be so honored. Om Jnana Timirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kara Mayam Dandanti Sva Pandatikam Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savarhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancha Garungi Radhe Vrindavan Ishvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Prananami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Tarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavembhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Guru Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you. Thank you, Shakti. And Stella, whenever you're ready, do you want to read our first verse for us today?
Yes, I will. Svayamevatmanatmanam vetatvam purutsatama bhuta bhavana bhutesha deva deva jagatpate. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe.
Yeah. So in this verse, again, Arjuna's saying something very direct and humble. He's saying, you alone know yourself. So in the last verse we learned, he said, even the demigods fully don't understand you. And honestly, I don't understand you either. Only you truly understand yourself. You alone know your glories. And we talked about this a little bit in the last session. This is powerful. Arjuna's not pretending to have everything figured out. He's acknowledging that Krishna is unlimited and that only the unlimited can fully comprehend the unlimited. And this is such a beautiful and powerful point, and this should really humble us in spiritual life. Once we really understand our true position and we realize that, our humility just it naturally humility awakens. This is a symptom of a really spiritually realized person, is that they're very humble because they see the world in this way. They understand that, look, I'm so finite. I'm so limited in everything, in my capacity, in my opulences, everything. I'm so limited. And God is so unlimited. Right? God is infinite. So of course, even my capacity to understand God naturally is limited. Right? That's just logic. Right? If God's limited and I'm finite, I can only understand so much. It's like drinking from a fire hose. This is our capacity for understanding. And it's not even our capacity. Whatever capacity we have for understanding is given to us, is revealed to us by Krishna's mercy, by God's mercy. It's not even of our own accord. We're not so strong. We're not so capable. Krishna gifts us this realization, any realization that we have. And in that way, we understand, again, our rightful position. We are very small. We are very small. And this is kind of reassuring. Sometimes we try to play this role of God. I know this is a trap that I fall into quite often in material life, right? I can control everything. I'm God. I know best. I da 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 da. And we get these gifts, these opportunities where Krishna kind of shows us, hey, actually, I know best. Actually, I'm God. Actually, I'm the controller. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling. It's the opposite of material life, where the goal is to climb, 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 exert your dominance, exert your power, make a bunch of money, become influential. It's not really what we're going for in spiritual life. In spiritual life, that like turns that upside down. We're trying to realize that we're actually servants of God. And in that, humility is, the crown jewel of that. It's not having a driving a, Ferrari and living in a multi-million dollar house. No. The crest jewel of a spiritually seasoned person is humility, because they've really come to understand their rightful position. And they may be on top. They may be very influential. They may be very powerful. They may have a lot of opulence, but they give it all back to Krishna. And in that Krishna reciprocates with them and opens up further realization and pulls them in closer. And then their humility increases even more. They become even more empowered. And this is how ecstatic spiritual life can become. Juxtaposed to the material ladder, you're climbing, climbing, climbing. You're anxious, you're going to fall off at any second, or that someone is going to pull you off and step on your head to get to the next. That's material life. So spiritual life really turns this on its head. Okay. So in this verse, so this is the first thing. This is the first realization. Nobody truly understands you but you. It's beautiful. Okay, then he begins describing who Krishna is. You're the supreme. You're the supreme person. You're the source of all living beings. Everything and everyone comes from you. But not only are you the source, you're also the controller. You sustain, you direct, you empower. You are the God of all gods. We've talked about that a lot. Demigods can grant blessings, but they can only do that because God gives them the power. So they're not even independent. Their ability comes from him. So Arjuna's just really putting it all together. So beautiful. You're the master of the universe. You're the source of all persons. You are the controller of all persons. Even the gods worship you. So he's just one by one emphasizing the same conclusion from different angles. And this is his thoughtful realization. Arjuna heard everything that Krishna said, and now he's just expressing his understanding clearly. So this is really his conclusion. He's saying, I hear you, I accept you, I accept who you are. And in the next section, after he expresses his understanding, he's going to make a request. So he's affirmed Krishna's position, and now he wants to go deeper. And that's where we're going in the next verse. Before we go there, does anybody have anything to share? Or anything that came up that you'd like to share before we move to the next verse? Okay, let's do it. Let's move to the next verse. Whenever you're ready, Stella.
Vaktum arhasi esheshena divyahi atma vibhu ataya yabir vibhutibir lokan imam stvam vyapa tishtatasi. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds.
Thank you. So after acknowledging Krishna as the supreme truth, Arjuna makes a really thoughtful request. He says, please tell me of your opulences. And this is interesting because he's not asking for proof anymore. He's already convinced. He's not doubting. So now he's thinking practically. And he's really thinking about the rest of us. We talked about this. Arjuna is like the man's man. He's like us. He's the common man. He's thinking, well, he's nothing but he's not common, but he's our character we can relate to. And he's saying, okay, I understand, but how will ordinary people understand? How will they meditate on you? How will they stay connected in the middle of daily life? Because it's if we're honest, it's one thing to say God is the source of everything, but it's another thing to actually remember that while you're stuck in traffic or overwhelmed at work or dealing with family drama. So Arjuna's asking for something very practical. He's saying, help us see you in the world around us. If you pervade all of existence, then show us how to recognize you there. He's asking for anchors for meditation, anchors for remembrance, anchors for daily God consciousness. Because if we can look at the world around us and just see reflections of Krishna's qualities, his brilliance in the sun, his power in the ocean, his steadiness in the mountains, then spiritual life is not abstract. it becomes woven into reality. And Arjuna's trying to help us get there. Like when God is woven into reality, we don't have to escape the world to remember him. We can just look around and say that excellence, that beauty, that power, that intelligence. That's a glimpse of Krishna. And this is, again, people that are really spiritually realized. They understand this. Even if they have a lot of beauty, a lot of power, a lot of intelligence, they understand this is not even mine. This is a gift that's given to me. This comes from Krishna, and therefore it should be engaged in Krishna's service. They understand this. It shouldn't be engaged for my own ego. And to the extent that it is, I suffer. And this is what this entire purpose of this world is here to help us realize. Krishna will give us gifts. He'll give us these opulences. But he wants us to realize, to use these opulences to turn back to him, and to use these opulences to further our connection with him by offering them back to him. And when we do that, we realize even more our real identity as servants of God. We become purified. Our connection with God grows, deepens. And as a byproduct of that, we become more loving, more compassionate, more peaceful, right? Less self-centered, less self-serving. And this is spiritual life. So this is, and the Gita will teach us this. The Gita will teach us this, the next 20 verses. Krishna's going to tell us how he is everything. And this is the brilliance of Arjuna's request. He's not asking for something mystical and hidden. He's asking for something that's accessible. Show us how to see you everywhere. Because when we connect, when we are able to see divinity everywhere, remembrance is just natural. And meditation becomes sustainable. So this is where we're going in the next section of the Gita. And Krishna's going to reveal this to us. How do we see Krishna everywhere? Wouldn't that be so nice? Everything you do, you pass a flower garden, and you think of Krishna. You pass, whatever, even the person who's driving you nuts, who's kind of up against you. You think, oh, Krishna's really testing me here. Krishna's really teaching me something. Whew, this happened to me just last night, actually. I was getting ready to give a little class, a very mini class, a little talk. And I was kind of confronted right before I had just a very uncomfortable interaction with somebody. And it was so uncomfortable, and I'm such a people pleaser. I'm such my heart is always so open that when it's like a little bit I'm really kind of sensitive. It's like, ouch, that hurt. And then I had to go up and speak it, what to speak of in front of that person. And I was like, wow, Krishna's really testing me. He's testing me. How attached are you to me? And how detached can you be from your own ego and your own quest for approval and the liking of everybody around you? How committed can you just be to me and doing your service? This is the way I felt. And it kind of made me smile a little bit, after the initial, my heart rate was kind of up, and I was like, oh, that was so uncomfortable. I was like, oh man, Krishna, this is really something. Now I have to really be focused. It can't be pulled emotionally by everything going on around me. I'd really have to be focused on Krishna. And this is such a gift. We can start to see everything around us, every person around us, every interaction, as Krishna orchestrating this for our own benefit, to bring us closer to him, for us to turn back and to see him in everything around us. So this is what this next section of the Gita is going to give us, the manual of how to do this, how to see Krishna in everything and everyone, all around us. And when this happens, life becomes magical. It actually, what was a really uncomfortable something that like 10 years ago would have really just that would have ruined my whole night, maybe my whole week. You know, it was really uncomfortable. Kind of ended up being a little bit sweet. You know, it was kind of sweet. Like, oh wow, what an opportunity to turn towards Krishna more. To turn towards Krishna more and kind of release a little bit of my ego. Just kind of let that go a little bit. This doesn't need to be made about me. This isn't about me. Even that interaction was not about me. So why am I holding on to it? Let's make this more about Krishna, more about how I can serve Krishna more sincerely, right? More about how I can connect with Krishna more lovingly. So this is 16. And we have still a couple of more verses in this section that we'll just keep going through. But does anybody want to share anything before we move on here?
I really like this verse because it's not rejecting the world. It's not someone saying, "Oh, wow, you're God. Save me. This world is horrible." You know, and yes,
Mm,
the world is horrible, but it's actually Krishna's energy. So I don't know, it's I like not rejecting the world, but
mm,
seeing it anew. It just feels
yes.
sweeter. And he's not asking to be saved. He's just asking to see Krishna everywhere. Like, wow, that's so it's so it seems so radical.
Yeah, because the reality is when we see Krishna everywhere, we are saved.
Right, right.
Right? Like and
Yeah.
like I said, I even felt like that last night. You know, it's like if we carry Krishna in our hearts, nothing can disrupt that internal peace. And ironically, that's what I was talking about last night. That was the subject of the talk. And so I was really challenged with that. But when we have Krishna, when we carry Krishna in our hearts, we are saved. We can run around, we can do anything in this world. We can be in a jail cell and we can and if we're relishing that connection, we can be peaceful. We can be happy. It's really radical. Like you said, it's radical. That connection is what takes us out of this world. We can still operate in this world. Externally, we could be doing all the same things. But because our connection is transcendental, our connection takes us higher. And internally, that's where we are. That's the gift of of this practice, what Krishna's offering us. What do you think, Shakti?
Um, I think, yeah, when I was at the ashram, there was many instances where Krishna was not testing me, but he was there and he would let me know it was okay. But because of my material conditioning, like I was asked to give Bhagavatam class at the temple, and I'm like, I'm not worthy to do that. I can't do that. Why would they ask me? I'm nothing. They shouldn't. Why, And then there was, and then I ended up not teaching because I didn't think I was worthy. And instead of like knowing that Krishna has me, Krishna will carry me through, and if I
Mm,
prepare and do what I need to do, I will give a good Bhagavatam speech. Like I like so the feeling that Krishna is in my soul and he will always take care of me in any
mm,
situation. And if I'm asked to give Bhagavatam class, it's because he will I will speak through him,
mhm.
from him. And
He will speak through you. Hmm.
that's it. Yes.
Hmm.
And so I will just my mouth will just move as Krishna's giving me information to give to people. But I was so
Hmm.
um maybe afraid or material conditioning of like, no, I'm not enough. I can't do that. I'm not worthy. And so I ended up not I said no. I said I don't think I'm really worthy to do that. And then I was like the next minute I was like, oh my God, I really should do that. And then I asked if another opening comes, let me know. And then it didn't come. And so it's sort of like instead of getting like like mad, I just thought, okay, maybe I wasn't ready for that lesson, or I
Mm.
don't know, but I know it will come across again. And next time I will say yes.
Yes. Wow, that's Gita in action right there. We just do our best. We just do our best. I always tell devotees that same thing, if a service opportunity scares you a little, you should definitely jump in because that Krishna will carry you. And there's a difference too. If it absolutely like terrifies you, like can't, then maybe it's something we need to work up to too. But just that, we talked about this, the stretch zone. We don't want to be too comfortable and we don't want to be in a state of panic. We want to be in a state of stretch because it's in that state of stretch where we really experience Krishna's mercy. He comes in and he carries us and we build faith that way. We build connection that way and we build humility that way. So, yeah, really beautiful. Thank you. All right, next verse, 10:17. We have 4 verses today in this little section, so it's a solid verse day. Oh, was I at 17 already? No, here's 17. Okay, whenever you're ready, Stella.
Katam vidyamaham yogins tvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhavesu chintyosi bhagavan maya. O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you, and how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Thank you. So this, again, another question from Arjuna, and a really nice, honest one. He says, okay, I understand you're the absolute truth. I accept that. But how do I live this? How do I remember you constantly? Again, same thing we're talking about here. It's one thing to feel inspired during a class or a kirtan or a retreat. It's another thing to remember Krishna while answering emails, while folding laundry, while navigating stress. So Arjuna's asking the question that we all need answered. Again, Arjuna's representing us. How can I meditate on you constantly? Because if we're being honest, if we really had pure love for God, if it was fully awakened, remembering him constantly would just be natural. Like when you're in love with someone, they're on your mind effortlessly. You think about that. It's like I can recall, those times when you're just like falling in love, you're like putting the peanut butter or putting, something that doesn't go in the fridge, like you're in the fridge, how many times has this happened? And when our mind is just totally occupied. But most of us aren't there yet. We live in a material world and our minds are naturally gravitating towards material things, responsibilities, desires, fear, distraction. So Arjuna's asking for a bridge here. How can I see what I already see, this material world around me? How can I see this as a doorway to remember you? And this is very compassionate because most people don't jump straight from matter to spirit overnight. It takes time. It could take lifetimes. We are so materially conditioned. So we have to, it moves gradually to rid this body of this sickness. When I say sickness, I mean that we're just so infatuated with material energy to the point where we kind of worship it. Yeah. And even when we want to worship God, even when we want to worship God, even when we want to put all of our faith and our shelter into God, we sometimes will instead put it in money, or put it in status, or put it in position. So it can take time. And Arjuna's saying, help me to do this. Well, help me to do this. How can we observe the world and see you in it everywhere? Just by doing this, we'll become purified. Just by doing this, we'll become more realized of our actual position, of the actual way things are, which is that we are actually a servant of God. We're not put here to be that next big CEO. If we are, great. But at the same time, offer it to Krishna. use that even position to remember your spiritual identity, because that's actually the real purpose of this life. Right? And when we offer it to Krishna, we become purified. It reminds us of who we are. Okay, so Krishna's going to give us a process. He's going to give us a way to look at physical, observable things and recognize them as reflections of him. So for someone who can't yet perceive divinity directly in meditation, Krishna says, start with what you see. See the extraordinary within the ordinary. See the sacred shining through the material. And this is the doorway. We just need to start changing our vision. The lens, what he's doing is he's taking the lens of which we see the world and just giving us like poking a little hole through it so that we can actually see it for what it is and not what the color of our glasses is. This is the doorway. And that's what Arjuna is asking for here. A way to live in remembrance while still walking through this world. Then this should be all of our objectives here, because we should understand that if we can do this, everything will become so much better. Ultimately we'll connect with God, and that there's nothing better than that. But we should also understand that as a byproduct, our lives will just become so much better, so much more peaceful. All these blockers that stand in our way of us really stepping into who we are and what we really have to offer the world will just be dissolved, because most of the time those blockers are attached to our ego, a false ego, our sense of, that are there because we're sometimes afraid, these masks that we think kind of protect us. They'll kind of drop away because there's no use for them. We don't need that anymore. We don't need those old patterns, those old narratives, those old ways that we used to protect ourselves, because we are so connected to God and our mission is just to serve God. So what use do those have in our lives? We're not here to prove ourselves, right? To get accolades, to get followers, to get attention, to get money. No, we're just really here to serve God. And this is the secret to life. This is the secret to life. It's not like somebody being religious or like holier than thou. No, it's you want the formula for peace, for happiness. Right? This is it. Remember God in everything that you do. All right, last verse for today. Let's do it. 18. Whenever you are ready, Stella.
Okay. Vistarena mano yogam vibhutim charjanardana bhuyakataya triptirhi shrinvato naste me mritam. O Janardana, again, please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words.
Thank you. It's like, have you ever read a really good book? The kind where you kind of like slow down because you don't want to miss anything. And then you read it again years later and like completely different parts hit you. And this is what good writing does. There's so many classics out there that that do this. There's layers. Okay, but Krishna Katha, when we speak about Krishna, it's different. It's not just layered, but it's alive. When we're reading ordinary books, we're the only ones doing the discovery. And this is amazing in itself. And there's some pretty incredible books out there that can really peel back these layers. But when we hear about Krishna, it's two-way. Two things are happening. Like we're searching, but also Krishna is revealing. The Gita, it's not just philosophy, it's Krishna revealing himself. And this is why devotees say, the experience, it never gets old. Like externally, it might look repetitive. We're reading the same verses. We're saying the same mantra. Oh my goodness, this mantra we say every day, just thousands and thousands of times a day. The same stories. We hear the same stories over and over again. Even if you go on pilgrimage, you go to the same places. From the outside, and my family said this to me too, like, because I'm always going on pilgrimage to India, and they're like, don't you get bored, like, just going to the same places? Like, don't you want to mix it up a little bit? And I used to think like that too, so I totally get it. It's like pretty normal. But what's happening here, the difference is that in material life, with material lenses, newness is exciting, and it's external. We have to get a new phone, a new relationship, a new city. But what happens in material life, if when we're really honest about it, when we start to get a little bit thoughtful and we start to observe things a little bit more deeply, we see, all these new experiences still boil down to the same old patterns. We're still just better ways to eat, better ways to sleep, to desires, defending, stressing. This all like the umbrella of the material newness. It's all related to these things. And the outside is changing, different ways to do these things, different ways to engage the senses, more comfortable ways to sleep or to stay, but the inside isn't changing. It's it's unless we're intentionally doing that work, but just by nature, seeking a new phone, a new relationship, a new city, it's not going to change our inside necessarily. But in bhakti, it's the opposite. Externally it might look the same, but internally it keeps becoming new. It keeps becoming inner fresh because our inside is changing. And this is like it's infinite. Right? The change, the growth that can happen inside in connection to God, it becomes infinite. Because as we hear about Krishna, it's something's inside, it's getting cleaned. All right, impurities are softening, the heart is opening, this love is awakening. And because this love is connected to Krishna, it's infinite. So it's like there's infinite joy, satisfaction, connection that comes from these practices. That even though they might look the same on the outside over and over, because the inside is constantly evolving, growing, expanding, our hearts, it's infinitely exciting. And this is the life of a spiritualist. We don't have to constantly seek, what's the next greatest upgrade for my phone? Or when am I going to get a new car again? And just get trapped in chasing these external upgrades that really don't make much of a difference to the size of our hearts. Unless we make them so. And that's not to say they can't, but if that's just what we're focused on. The next big thing, the next new and exciting thing, the next new and exciting vacation. I'm going to work all year so that I can go on the most opulent, exotic vacation. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to work Monday and sit at my same desk and be my same depressed person and just wait for the next year so I can do it again. This is material life. But spiritual life, it's ever fresh. We can be doing these same things externally, and most of the time these same things don't even cost us anything, right? But time and consciousness. But we don't have to work endlessly for them at a 9 to 5 so that we can come home and chant japa or listen to a kirtan, or read the book or read the Gita. But what's happening is that inside our heart is growing, expanding, and this is ever fresh. And this is really where the real happiness lies. Right? Not in the next greatest upgrade to my iPhone. Okay? Because when love awakens, the same world feels different. The same mantra feels deeper. Anybody experience this? I remember when I first started going to kirtans, I wasn't even that into it. And I was like, oh, okay, it's nice. But after a while, it's kind of like, this is actually really nice. I'm really feeling this to be very relaxing. And then soon it just becomes like, oh my gosh, I need this in my life. I feel just so refreshed, like my consciousness just took a bath. This is the power of the mantra. And the more that we experience it, the deeper and deeper we will go with it. Be careful. This is the process, because then what happens is we don't even care about that new car anymore. It's like, it's like our boss can offer us a raise and it's like, I'd rather have less responsibility so that I have more time for my spiritual practice, because that's actually what's taken me higher in life. I don't need more money so that I can buy the next greatest car. Thank you very much. Yeah. So this is the power. This is the power of these practices. And this is, again, how spiritual life, it just flips material life on its head. So, so we have to be this. We have to be essence seekers. It's this great saint, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He once gave a powerful analogy. He said, trying to understand Krishna from the outside is like licking a honey bottle without opening it. It's like you can analyze the bottle, you can study the label, you can debate its origin, but until you actually open it and taste it, you just won't understand. And this is what Arjuna's tasting here. He's not bored, he's not checking a box. He's relishing. He's really relishing. And the more he hears, the more he wants to hear. Why? Because Krishna is unlimited. And when the object of love is unlimited, the joy in hearing about him is unlimited too. I actually saw this tagline the other day, like, want to be unlimited? Come to my coach training and become unlimited. That's nice, and you can probably grow in your offering and yourself, and you can probably peel off layers. No, but you're only really going to be unlimited if you're connected with that which is unlimited. And that is Krishna. And science does this too, often like an excitement will come from discovering something new, and then once it's discovered, the thrill fades and then we move on. What's the next greatest challenge? What's the next thing I can discover? Spiritual life, it's not about discovering something brand new. It's about recovering something that we've lost. Like finding an old map, like the map back to someone you've been separated from for lifetimes. It's like if you ever meet a childhood friend after like decades, you haven't seen them forever, and you see them and there's just like this immediate joy, like this recognition, like you automatically just feel like, like just a little bit like back home. This is what reconnecting with Krishna feels like, but like times a billion, because Krishna is our eternal home. This is reconnection with Krishna is what our entire being is made for. And his glories, they're infinite. This is a joy, it doesn't plateau. It just is ever expanding. Once we connect to the infinite source, it becomes infinite. Okay, so this is Arjuna, he's not asking for information because he's curious or he's asking because he's tasting something sweet and he wants more. He's got a little bit of that honey right off the top of the rim, and he's like, wow, this is delicious. I want to dive into this jar and just relish the nectar. And he's thinking for the rest of us too. How will people meditate on you? How can they connect with you in daily life? So he says this, please describe your glories in detail. And this is where we're going next, in the next verses. Krishna's going to do exactly that. He's going to reveal how we can see him everywhere. Not just in temples, not just in meditation, but woven through the fabric of our lives, woven in the world that we're already living in. This is where we're going. So buckle your seatbelts. This is what we're gonna, this section and this is a long section. It's like 20 verses. We get ready for this ride of a lifetime, because if we can really imbibe this, if we can really realize this, if we can really practice this, even on a small level, we will see just how transformed our lives and ultimately our hearts become. And this is the power of God consciousness. I tell people, I was a nuclear engineer. I thought it was the most strongest misunderstood energy, and I really thought I could make a difference in people's lives, by becoming a nuclear engineer. Until I found God consciousness. And it was like, there's no power stronger than God consciousness. The power to transform a heart, it's infinite. We could be infinitely, the impact can be infinite once we connect to that which is infinite. So those are the verses today. Let's hear some reflections. Where are you guys? Love to hear from you. Shakti.
My last big thing that happened was Pittsburgh, was the kirtan. And if you would have told me, I don't know, maybe even months ago, I was up early doing service, getting there for 7 a.m., putting tables together, putting tablecloths, getting the kids' area ready for kirtan. So constant service. And then ecstatically saw Aaron and you and Bug and the family and dance with Aaron and a couple of other folks, and we were just floating, that was my day, and then drove back to the temple, and my heart was so full, it was overflowing of fullness. So that I think no one gave me anything, no one did anything for me except for Krishna. Krishna, Krishna connected me through service, and then with people who also, love Krishna the way that I feel like I do similarly. And then I got to just be connected with them and dance, and I would look and I would see Aaron smiling, and it was just like the most joyous day. And it was just I didn't get anything except for love of Krishna. And the chanting was going on the whole time. They were chanting. There was a whole kirtan. And so in the background was kirtan
Mm,
while I was doing all of this. And it was just like, wow, like my life is so full
mm,
this way.
mm. Wow. Thank you, Shakti. You're so sincere, and Krishna is revealing himself to you. You're blessed. What do you think, Aaron?
Hare Krishna. Um, I just wanted to share from what Shakti just shared. I was actually a little nervous going to the kirtan on Saturday because it was at a Hindu Jain temple. I'd never been. I didn't know what to do. I feel like my Catholic upbringing really was like wanted to know the rules and the norms. And I was telling Radha that, like, as soon as I got in, I mean, oh, there's so many deities, there's so many altars. I just was like, oh, not sure where to go, what to do. But our friend Lena, who is always at the Kirtan Center, she was dancing and she just like ran over and grabbed me and kind of made me start dancing. And it was like the perfect way to enter the Kirtan.
Mm,
And I agree, Shakti, it was definitely just Krishna's mercy. He was like, don't worry, I'll figure it out for you. And I really didn't have to worry about it. But it's funny the situations where like even there was a room of people, a lot of people that I already knew, but just the setting was different, um and like on a material level definitely was like causing me some anxiety. um but I also wanted to share, like, I just I keep thinking with bhakti, like, um uh like I want like one answer, it's like, I'm gonna chant, it's gonna make me happy, it's gonna be peaceful. And then the experience is not always like that, right? Like you're talking about being in the stretch zone, which is like so totally where I feel like I've been lately. And I'm just like, but this is not peaceful.
mm,
um, and I appreciate what you're saying, that it's like ever deeper, and ever fresh, because I do feel like I constantly want to put, something in a box of like, this is my expectation for this path or for God or for chanting or whatever. Um, and then sometimes the experience is different, and it's like, I'm just living in this dichotomy, or this false dichotomy, and it's like either or, when in reality it's so much more complicated than that.
mm,
um and yeah, I think just like the beauty of being able to try and recognize that it is still Krishna's mercy, even in that
uncomfortableness or that stretch, or those moments that really are not peaceful, even if it's in the middle of seva. Like,
Yes. Yes. Beautiful realization. This is the beautiful thing about, I find in doing service, it's like you can try your hardest. You can be, I'm a good controller. That's like my thing. I'm a controller. So I'm like, things should be like this. It needs to be like this. And then the beautiful thing about spiritual life is when it happens such that it's not like that at all, we don't have to be upset about it. We can just say, wow, okay, Christian's not moving it that way. It's, I tried my best. I really thought this was it. It's not. And that's beautiful. That realization is beautiful. It doesn't have to make us frustrated or threatened or anxious. We can just say, oh, okay, well, I guess I didn't know. Thank you, Krishna, for reminding me. It's really humbling. And that's something is satisfying about that because we can't pretend to be the all-knowing controllers, the infinite, that is just exhausting. So it's really magical spiritual life. It keeps us on our toes and it challenges us and it stretches us and all the while we're just Krishna's just reeling us in. It's like quite a ride. It's quite a ride. Yeah, thank you. Was this Santiago? Did I just see you on this iPhone? Is that who this iPhone is? If this is Santiago, I think I saw you for a split second, but welcome. If you're not Santiago, also welcome. Happy that you're here. Does anybody else want to share? Love the idea of the stretch zone, my takeaway. Yeah, this is good. We should try to be in the stretch zone. Take those opportunities to bring us into the stretch zone. Yeah, not the panic zone, not the comfort zone, the stretch zone. Yeah, and learn to see the difference between them all. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Shakti. Okay, my friends. Well, if we don't have any more shares, that is Stella Kalachandri. Do you guys want to say anything before we leave?
Oh, thank you, Radha. Yes, it's me.
Oh, Santiago!
Yeah,
Santiago! Yay! Love to see you. Welcome. Santiago is one of our Pittsburgh crew.
yeah. Thank you. It was really, really nice, really inspiring.
Thank you for coming. It really makes my heart happy to see you. Such a wonderful, pious person Santiago is.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. Stella Kalachandji, do you want to say a last minute? You have a last minute something
Well,
here for us?
I had so many thoughts today. It was really great class. Thank you. Um, I feel from my experience, like the next best thing to seeing Krishna everywhere and everything is being married to someone who sees Krishna everywhere and in everything. And it's just such a great reminder, and it's really constant. But it's not. It's not like, our life together has been many things. I wouldn't say, like, the first word that would comes to my mind would not be peaceful, but I was also so many wonderful things. But that peacefulness is like a core feeling. It's at the core of it.
Yeah.
So we might not always feel peaceful, but there's a peaceful heart, a peaceful core
Yeah.
that takes us through like all the tumult of life and relationships and everything. And that, when also though, like to flip that around, I was thinking like everyone here can also be that for their friends and their partners. That, many of us or many of you, have partners who are not so involved or don't know much about. But if you can see Krishna everywhere, that'll change their lives also. So those were just a couple thoughts about it. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Wow. Beautiful. Thank you. I love that. Our core is unshakable. Even if we're feeling a little bit of, ripple on our outside, in our body, our mind, our core is unshakable. And that's what powers us through. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for coming and sharing your realizations in your heart. You guys are so close to me in my heart. Thank you. I'll see you all on Thursday. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Also, could I call attention to the note that I put in the chat if
Please
anyone
do.
didn't see it? I can't read it, but if you want to, or Stella or anyone, I have to go to my physical stretch zone right now, literally. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna. I don't see it.
No, I can
Do you?
find it. It was beautiful here.
Really? Oh, our chat on our
In our chat, live.
Okay, great. Do you want to read it for us?
Yes, yes, yes. I do want to read it because it's beautiful. Tomorrow is Guru Puranam, and in the U.S., amazing. Although Krishna came 5,000 years ago and Lord Chaitanya came 500 years ago, every Dvarpa Yuga, but only once in a day of Brahma, every 4,320,000,000 years, and only once in a day of Brahma does Krishna come again as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Kali Yuga, following the Dvarpa Yuga in which Krishna appears. What are the odds? How fortunate we are to have taken birth in this age.
Haribo!
Yes.
Let's end on that note.
Haribol.